Hi, I'm Derek, and welcome back to Fun Scale Models. In this video series, we're working on the park scale model of the P-63 Kingcobra. In the last video, we focused on the construction of the fuselage. In this one, we'll be looking to be building the wing. Looking at the plans, you can see the overall shape and design of the wing. The model features 1/4 inch leading edge balsa, and there are templates on it to help you prep for the build. I started by doing this, cutting both the center section and the two outer sections of the wing leading edge. Starting with the center section, I pinned the trailing edge and leading edge in place over the plans. Then I added the wing ribs and 3/32 square stringers. Before construction on the outer panel, there were some sub-assemblies I needed to create first. Initially, I started with the plug-in landing gear mounts. These are made from the same brass square tubing that we'd used on the nose gear, as well as blocking in and around these parts. Once this sub-assembly was finished, I glued that to the main wing rib, and then this will be added later into the wing construction. The wing tips are made of several pieces that are laminated together, and then this, along with the trailing edge, is pinned to the leading edge on the board. Once these parts were glued together, I propped up the rear of the trailing edge just at wing rib number 8 to help build in washout during construction. With the trailing edge raised by the shim, I glued in the rearmost or number 4 stringer to the wingtip and used several other ribs to help make sure that it was aligned properly with the wing plans. Here you can see where I've pinned just outside the one wing rib to make sure that the washout is only for the outermost of the wing panel. W8 is then laid in place on top of the shim, and the other stringers are added. Moving along, I added rib after rib, including the root rib, which has a angle guide to help assist with ensuring that the proper dihedral is built into the wing. Once all the ribs are in place, the top 3/32 square stringers are added. Using a hacksaw, I carefully cut the ribs marked on the plans for the aileron leading edge. The aileron leading edge has a slight bend up to it, which compensates for the washout that's built into it. I used T-pins for spacing and carefully slid the aileron leading edge in place and glued the whole assembly when satisfied with the fit. Here you can see some additional pictures and details. If you also notice in the middle of the screen, there's a 1/16 plate of balsa wood. That is what the aileron servo is mounted to. And in this picture, you can see the servo has been mounted. It's very important to test your servos before mounting them in the wings, as you're literally gluing them to the structure. Once the wing panel was complete, I removed it from the board and made some general markings on each of the wing tips before using my plane to rough shape them, and then a sanding block to make sure they are the correct curvature. There's also some included leading edge templates that help with this. With the completion of the right panel, I built the left panel exactly the same. Then I elevated them per the plans and glued all 3 sections together. The main struts are from 1/16 wire that is bent to shape per the plans. To help with marking and where to bend the wire, I wrapped them in masking tape. With the main construction complete, it was time to assemble the model and see how it all fit together. I held the model parts in place with masking tape and utilized the plug-in landing gear to get a couple of shots on its feet. While reviewing this, I also did a quick check of where the current CG point was. As you can see in this picture, I identified that the aircraft was quite a bit nose heavy, and it was going to require a modification of where the battery as well as the elevator and rudder servos sit. Because I needed to move the battery as far aft as possible, I decided to make an additional hatch at the rear bottom of the airplane. Between formulas 9 and 10, I used the hacksaw again to trim away some of the stringers and build up an additional hatch. This will allow me to move both my rudder and elevator servos, as well as having an area for my battery pack that I can move it around to make sure that I find the best balance point. Here you can see where the servos have been mounted along the fuselage sides. The 1/16 cross balsa plate has been added, and I'm test fitting the battery pack. There's quite a bit of room in there to allow the movement of the battery as needed. The remainder of the hatch was built similar to the main one above the wing and in the canopy area. There are a few more finishing areas that needed to be done, including blocking in and fairing around the vertical and horizontal, hinging with CA hinges, and mounting the aileron servos. That pretty much wraps up the main construction of the model. In the next video, I'll be showing on how to build the cockpit as well as the canopy.